Hi, I'm Khleif. Each and every week, I record an interview with a thought leader that I know you're going to get a ton of value from. Now, here on YouTube are the video versions of my podcast, Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. Now, to make sure you get the latest information, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's get started. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I am thrilled you're here. We've got a really dynamic guy on the show with us today, and it's a little unusual in that he is primarily in the single-family space, but I really believe that the topic we're going to discuss, which is marketing, crosses over into multifamily, and I know that he's going to be able to add value. His name's Gary Boomershine, and he founded realestateinvestor.com, and he's really well known under the reivault.com moniker. But these guys have done direct mail and outbound lead generation to a whole nother level. I mean, they've mailed 36 million pieces of mail so far. They've made 1 million outbound phone calls. So this is really about direct to seller marketing. And I just think that you guys are going to get some value today. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Yeah, Rod, it's great. I'm super excited, and hopefully I can add value to your loyal group of listeners.
Well, I'm sure you will. There's no question. And so, let's talk a little bit. We're not going to talk about developing broker relationships. We're not going to talk about, a lot of the traditional ways that people get multifamily deals. We're going to talk about direct to seller marketing. And I know, again, you're the king in the single family space. So tell us, a little bit about why what you do works.
Yeah, we've done, you just mentioned it, we've done over 36 million pieces of direct mail, over 1 million outbounds, cold calls to sellers, but it's really focused primarily on single family because that's pretty hot right now in this market. And we've got some of the top guys, the business, the operators that are wholesaling and fix and flip and rehabbing. I just go right at it. You and I chatted a little bit before the show. Direct mail is not really the preferred approach, my recommended approach for going after multifamily. However, there's gems, and we'll talk about that. But I wanted to give the caveat everybody should know. And the primary reason, I've sent out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pieces of direct mail, probably everything, postcards, letters, packages, offer packages. And the reason that it's not as effective as other approaches out there, like working the MLS, working LoopNet, working with the broker, is because it gets stuck with the property manager. The property managers are the blocker. And so if you're doing direct mail, you really need to get around that, which means it's going to take some work looking up the entities. Most of these apartments are going to be held by LLCs. You've got to actually spend the time, preferably not you, right? You hire a $4 an hour resource and find out who actually is behind it. Now, with that said, some of the best deals and some of the biggest deals and deals that may actually have owner financing that are creative will come off of the direct mail. We're seeing that, but the cost per deal is higher. You could plan on spending $10,000 in marketing to find that one gem. The response rates are going to be a little lower, and you're going to have to work them, is what we have found. I actually, how all this came, just a little bit of background. I come from a real estate family. I was a licensed agent in 1987. I'm 50 years old. I went full time in real estate. I should also say that in the family, I paid for college by holding open houses and door knocking. And I got a computer engineering degree. I didn't think I was going to do real estate. I went down the consulting and Silicon Valley path. And then it was in 2004, my wife and I said, you know what, let's get back into brick and mortar, what we know. So I've owned apartments. I do a lot of private lending. But what I found in my business is put me in front of sellers, right? That's where put me in front of a seller. The money is made making offers, right? Lots of offers and closing deals. And to get in front of the sellers, it's marketing. And so we took a Dan Kennedy approach. He's probably he's kind of the main guy behind direct mail.
The man knows how to write sales letters.
He sure does. So direct response marketing there's a formula around it. It's called the 6 M's. And I could go through that if you wanted, but we really
well, let's hold off on that for 1 second, because I want to circle back to a couple things you said.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the 6 M's. Yes, I'd love to hear the 6 M's. So the thing that you said that you glossed over, and I've had students very successfully do this, but it's doing what other people aren't willing to do. Okay, if you want to buy a list and mail it, that's one thing. Yes, if you're going to do that with multifamily, it does not work. But if you break down the entity and you mail or find the phone numbers of the principals of that entity, and you mail a certain segment, a niche, which I think is a niche, which is under 30 units, like 5 to 30 units. It's going to be mom and pop sellers, and you pick people that have owned a while, like ideally 20 years. Very small lists when you do this, but our results have been 6 to 9% response, which I know is fantastic in the direct mail industry, but it takes a lot of work, and we hire and teach people how to hire VAs in the Philippines to do this work for them. But yes, it's doing what other people aren't willing to do. So that said, I just wanted to clarify that. And you said it takes about 10,000 to find a deal. Okay. We found it to be a little less than that, but I think it's the key is shooting with a rifle instead of a shotgun, and I think that's the difference. But let's talk about the 6 M's. Let's talk about what that means.
Yeah. So the 6 M's of marketing it's all about the response on the leads and then the conversion rates. All right. So the 6 M's, number one is the market. So market, message, medium, multiple, months, and money. So the market is number one. That's the most important. That's the list. It's the targeted list of names and addresses and phone numbers. And the more pinpointed you get, the better results you're going to get. Now, I'll add another thing. If you're searching, this is all public record data. Mm-hmm. An easy list to find would be on ListSource or CoreLogic, RealQuest. Mm-hmm. And I will also say, even the bigger properties that we have found, if they're not held in an LLC, and there are properties that are held in a trust, individual, et cetera. Those are gems. Right. Those are typically. The other one would be properties that have been owned for a long, long time. In fact, the ones that have no last sale date are going to be the best, because most of the people that are doing this are going in and they're putting last sale date. I would make sure, as a nugget, leave the last sale date blank, because you're going to get all the gems. That's going to be a home run for a lot of people. Because one of the things we found are going to be out-of-state owners, primarily inherited properties. Oh yeah, those are the best. People, the kids don't want to mess with it. They want to cash out. Those are the best. And by the way, guys, you should also reach out to probate attorneys just for that reason. All right. Absolutely. That's a need, because again, guys, he's going really fast, but I want to slow you down just a hair, buddy, because you just gave a big gem there, which is, most of them put a date in, and so all the ones with the blank dates are not gonna show up on the bulk listings that the larger houses use. Okay, please continue. So that's Mark. Yeah. By the way, that's probably one of the keys for us with REI Vault. We actually have 2 proprietary mailing lists. One we call the invisible list, and one that's called the shipwreck list. And out of the 127, I'm going to talk single family for a moment, but 127 million single family properties that we all have access to. And 18 million of those are kind of a unique combination of absentee, out-of-state owners, inherited properties, and mostly free and clear. And that has been an absolute goldmine for the people in single family. And we actually have to pull, we're buying massive amounts of data, millions and millions of records a month for about 250 people around the country to do this. But that last sale date, no last sale date, is huge. Okay. Probably one of the biggest identifiers. So that's number one. So I talked about the list, and then the second is the message, the right words, the market, and then the message. And then the third is media, which is, are you going to send out a postcard? Are you going to send out a letter, a handwritten letter? Is it going to be a package, an offer package? I actually, if you have a small enough list, I'd be putting an offer package. We do that. We actually have something that we do for single family. We call it our one-click offer. It's literally an offer package with 2 signed contracts in there that are actually done. They look like they're handwritten.
No, I love it. I love it. Can we circle back to message for a second? Can you speak to some of the messaging that works well?
Yeah, Dan Kennedy there's 1-step and there's 2-step marketing, and he has a concept of blind copy. What I think blind copy would probably, and I have not done this test in apartments just because it hasn't been our focus. I know it would work, by the way. We do it in land. It's one of the best producing pieces. Blind copy is something that's not saying that you're trying to buy the apartment. Your whole purpose is to get the phone call. You already know you're going after the list or the prospect that you're looking for, and you're looking to get the call. So a message of urgency, almost that the property, you've got something urgent to talk to them. And that you take it to a pre-recorded voicemail. We've got one for the single family that's 2 minutes and 36 seconds. It's been a top producer for years. We've sent out of this particular piece. So something that's going to have urgent or expiration date on it, and the copy is going to be very focused. You're not putting anything in there.
You're not giving them a reason for the call. You're just kind of leaving it really vague. Wow.
You are. And so what happens? You're going to get we get a high response rate. I'll tell you, on average, our piece off of a postcard gets about an 8% national response rate.
Wow.
And it converts well. It gets about 5% of the people will give an angry call.
Right.
Because,
yes, I was going to say a lot of pissed off people, I'm sure, but okay.
And 20% of the calls are what we would consider viable.
Wow.
So you're driving a pretty high, and by the way, it's very, very similar for a 1-step. You're going to get a better quality lead if it's a direct message, but fewer callers. So I would do that. To get the call, to get the person on the phone, and so that's Dan Kennedy.
Now, do you have them go to an actual live answer, or do you have them go to recording? What's
great point. If it's 2-step blind copy, always to a pre-recorded message. 100% of the time, we've tried it both ways. You do not want a live call. You just take them to a pre-recorded message, super professional. Hey, let me tell you why I sent that to you.
That sounds good. That sounds good, because then that's going to weed out a lot. I mean, you're going to have to listen to some of those messages, but 20% will be decent. Interesting. So what other messaging? You got Dan Kennedy's 1-step and anything else that works well? Do you do this on a postcard? You said you like postcards?
Postcards, I'll tell you, postcards will outproduce dollar to dollar 100% of the time off of a letter for single family. Dollar to dollar, right? So for 33 cents, 34 cents, you can drop a postcard. It's typically going to be 59 cents, almost double for a letter, but you're not going to see the same response rate. The 2 times you would do letters, again, for single family, is one, it's a super small targeted list. Right? If it's a super small targeted list, maybe
which would be the case with multifamily. So let me ask you this, because I most of the multifamily people that I know that have had very good success direct mailing letters, with pictures of their family and whatnot and different messaging. What about frequency? How often is that one of the next things?
It is.
Okay. All right. So we'll pass on that. But as far as media, do you send different messaging? Like, will you send a completely different piece 3 months later?
Not that often. Sometimes we'll do it in different color. And part of it is consistency. Part of it is the repetition. There's a magic, and this is multiple and then months. So multiple is 5 to 8 times. I would be hitting the apartment 8 times.
Okay.
I would be hitting it. If you're sending out a letter's fine. If it's a small list, don't put any pictures. You don't need pictures of your family. You don't need any branding. It is all about the wording.
Okay.
I'd make it a handwritten
letter.
One of the best producers, I can give this to you as well. I'd do it as a follow-up. If it were me, to a small list, it would be a follow-up type of letter. A guy years ago out of Colorado wrote it. It goes on yellow paper. It's a thank you letter. A follow-up letter says, hey, we recently spoke about purchasing your property, and not sure if your other options have changed, but love to continue to interact with you type of message. And
regardless whether you've spoken with them or not.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great producer. It does produce. You're typically not going to get angry calls off of it. I mean, Dan Kennedy would say it's, we're going out to a seller. They don't know us. There's going to be some friction. So you got to have, you got to have somebody on the other side of the call. On those letters, by the way, always a live answer. 100% of them.
Okay.
Live answer.
Live answer. Okay.
Live answer. Friendly person. It's the Frank Cardone. It's like, you got to be sharp as a tack, knowledgeable as all heck, and super friendly. And so I'd take those calls live. Usually it would be a third party is what we would recommend. You really don't have to answer them live unless if you're going after apartments and it's a really small list, then you could.
Right. But so you would use a third party, you say. And I know you offer that service as well, but on a smaller scale, would you just hire somebody? Would you call it? I mean, what are the resources for something like that?
Well, if you're doing apartments, you're talking big ticket item, right? I say 10,000, it could be $500, but I'm saying 10,000. Plan $10,000. It's a numbers game. Here's the thing: an apartment. What's the value and the return on investment?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's infinite. It's infinite on $10,000.
Right.
You buy it, you get a great deal in an apartment complex. No, I agree with you.
I
didn't want to discourage anyone because I've had people do it for quite a bit less. But be prepared to spend what you have to spend to get these deals because it's worth it. These are in this hot market. Off-market deals are the belle of the ball. So,
right. And the key is you don't do it yourself. You just have somebody else do it for you.
Right.
Now, if you're doing it on a small scale, take the calls live. Here's the reason I like a third party. What we have found that a large percentage come in between 5 and 10 o'clock at night of those calls.
Oh, wow.
5 and 10 o'clock. You're going to find about 60% of the calls come in after hours.
Wow. Okay.
So if you're answering them yourself, plan on being up late. And
okay. Good to know. And then so we've got marketing, message, media, multiple. That's 4. What are the other ones?
Months. So over how many months?
Okay.
Typically, if you're going after more of an high equity set of properties, right? Not in distress.
Right.
Every 60 days is appropriate. So you can split up your list or hit it every 60 days.
Okay.
Is appropriate. If you start going less than that, you get what's called list fatigue. So
right. You're overkill. You're overkilling. Yeah. Got it. Okay.
Overkill. Yeah. If you're going after more of a distress, like a probate situation or recently deceased or code violations and things like that, I'd be much more rapid fire. At minimum of every 30 days. You could do it every 3 weeks. You could do it every 2 weeks. And some of the marketing I've done to purchase properties, I'll mail every single day just to get the response. In fact, the house I'm living in today was a very small market of 120 houses. We mailed every day. I pretty much got 100% response because people were asking to be removed from the mail. As this house is. She called to be removed from the mail. We had a great conversation. I put her on a follow-up letter. And 3 months later, she called and said, "Hey, Gary, are you still interested in buying the house?" And
no kidding.
I was in contract that day. So, you're not getting angry people. It's marketing. Look, It's marketing. Why do credit card companies put out those offers in the mail, right? The check letters and the things. It's marketing. So a lot of people, they get stuck a little bit on the integrity and they want to do, it's like, hey, if it's marketing, you're looking for a response. Marketing is about traffic, and then you got to convert the traffic, which is sales. So,
every business, according to Peter Drucker, is nothing but innovation and marketing. So love it. What, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, what would you say is one of the biggest secrets to getting deals now in this hot market? Is it direct mail? Is this what we're talking about, or is there a caveat on that?
Yes.
Oh, you know what? We didn't do the 6th M. Forgive me. What's the 6th M?
Money.
Hello. Okay.
Money is how
doing all this.
Money is how much money do I need to plan on spending to get enough leads to close a deal. And so it's going to be, it varies in every single market. And so the money is how much money to produce enough leads to get enough good leads to convert into contracts that actually close and make profit and with a return on investment.
Okay.
And that's the money. So the 6 M's. Dan Kennedy, actually, it was the 5 M's. We added the last one, which is money, because it's, you need to know what's the measurable result. How much do I have to spend? And how much am I going to make over what period of time? Because sales and marketing, it's a total numbers game, the art and the science.
Sure. It totally is. And if you're not measuring it, you're really pissing away a lot of money, because you want to double down on what's working and cut back on what's not.
Yeah.
So you've got to be measuring continually.
A couple other secrets, Rod, I will just say in this market, specifically around single family, there is a lot more pressure on going after off market because of the cycle that we're in.
Sure.
As an example, 3 years ago, direct mail absolutely crushed it. There's a lot more pressure because you got all the seminar guys now teaching it. And usually they'll utilize our postcards. We were the innovator of most of the postcards that a lot of people use in this niche. And so there's a lot more pressure. It just means you got to be better on your interaction with the seller and the follow-up. It's what we're finding.
The fulfillment, really, it's after the call happens, you need to be very, very responsive and be communicating properly. Yes?
Correct. Also, multiple offer approach. So a lot of the guys historically have been making a single, all cash offer. The guys in the single family that are coming in with more of a problem solving concept of, hey, we can offer you this. We can do this,
Now let's talk about this, because this has never come up on the show before. And this would be, I think, just as effective with multifamily as it is with single family. So let's talk about the multi-offer approach for a minute. Let's drill down on that for a second. So you make an offer cash, okay? That's actually unusual in the multifamily space. It would usually be with financing.
Correct.
What are some other offers you could make in our space? Any come to mind?
Higher purchase price. A price that's more, interesting to the seller, where they're actually doing some owner financing, carrying back paper, right? Typically, the way it happens is like my approach, and a lot of us will go in and say and work with, hey, what would it look like if they were to put this on the MLS and sell it retail, in terms of like the repairs and all the work effort, et cetera. And what we're trying to do is say, hey, you could actually sell that right now. Again, this is going direct without dealing with the realtor. And you could sell that direct, and you're going to take a small haircut if you were to be a little flexible on how we pay you over a period of time. A lot of these sellers, and I think this would be in multifamily as well, there's a huge capital gain issue for them selling. If they're not going to 1031.
Seller financing for an elderly person is the best way to go, bar none.
Absolutely.
If they put their money in the bank, it's at 1%. They're not going to put their money in another high-risk investment because they're risk-averse, because they're elderly, and they're going to be fully depreciated, so they're not going to have any write-offs. So, seller financing is the belle of the ball for an elderly person. So love it. And I like, your idea of presenting two offers like that. One with your regular bank financing or whatever, and then another with them maybe carrying back a second for part of the down payment if you've got a bank that will allow it. And there are some banks you've got a relationship with that will do that. I interviewed a kid that did it in Michigan, and got in basically $1 million property for $5,000 down because they let the owner carry a second, or maybe completely carry the whole thing if it's free and clear, or possibly even wrap it, so there's a lot of ways to structure. Okay. And I love that. So that's multiple offers where you actually present two at the same time, or maybe even three at the same time. Okay.
Yeah. Typically the approach is, my price, your terms, or your price, my terms, and then trying to work somewhere in the middle. That's the historic approach. And by the way, I come out of the technology industry of selling $500 to $5 million software, and that's the same approach that we took there. Any high ticket, multiple offers. The other thing that's interesting, Rod, is your stick rate, your conversion rate in the deal is going to be higher. What we're finding is giving multiple offers keeps your foot in the door. So let's say you're going to offer, $4 million, all cash, financing, or you could come in at 4.5 million or 4.7 if they were a little flexible, right? And being able to carry
and you could play with the interest rate to get your returns where you need them, and they're seeing the higher number, and it's a total win-win-win all the way down the line. So,
yeah, absolutely. So that keeps your foot in the door, and also the other thing is a lot of these sellers they may not really be thinking about selling. They're intrigued because you're going to direct. Now all of a sudden they're interested, and so they're now shopping. And so you came in with a $4 million all cash offer. You're the one trick pony, right? And then they sell the property for 4.1 right out from under you, right? So giving them a range and multiple offers, building some rapport. And I'll tell you the last secret. This is absolutely critical. The follow-up, only 3% of the initial calls are going to convert right away. 97% of the money is going to happen between 5 and 12 interactions with the seller.
Yes, right. That's proven. That's absolutely a fact. It's proven in sales.
Absolutely. So text message, what we're finding, and this is single family, I know it would be at least this or higher in multifamily, 60% of the calls that are coming in from cell phones. Text message is absolutely, it's 100% success to those 60%. Very simple text message, follow-up letters, and then, of course, a friendly phone team that's calling. We also put a ringless voicemail into the queue.
Yeah, sure. Slide broadcast. Yeah, that's
absolutely no
brainer. You give them voicemail.
Yeah, our system, as a note, we have a system that does all that. So as leads come in, they get pushed right over to the phone team to get on the phone and screen them.
So you hit them on all fronts. They text them, you phone them, you leave them a voicemail, and guys, that's the way the big hitters in the single family space do it. Why not do it in this world? Which is why I wanted Gary on the show. So what happens if you're in a super competitive market? Let's talk about like a San Francisco or an LA or a San Diego, or just crazy market. Any tips for how to deal with that? Get out of it, go buy somewhere else?
Well, okay. So apartments, I'm not the expert. I wish I could say, hey, for apartments, multifamily.
All right, just talk about a single family, because guys, I really believe there's a ton of crossover here. So it's okay. Yeah.
So the return on investment on the marketing dollar is going to be exactly the same as what we have found. Now, in California, right? California, for marketing, you're typically, if you're in Florida, actually, I just did this Dallas. We've got a guy in Dallas. His wife was a cheerleader for the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Super good guy. He spent $17,000, $19,000 in marketing with us since April, and he produced $159,000 in profit. Okay, his average is
doing some flips, single family flips.
Just flips.
A hot market. Okay.
And it's 17.
So the ROI is higher because the returns are higher on these higher priced properties.
Right. He closed 6 deals, and so his cost per deal was $3,300 in Dallas.
Okay.
Right. Oh. Now in California, if he was in San Francisco Bay Area, double that. So his cost in marketing is going to be closer to 6. But the average profit, the same type of product that he's flipping, he would make double the profit. He would have made $40,000 on that same flip, maybe 50.
Interesting.
So the ROI.
Right, so really, it's the ROI on where you are. Now I know, guys, if you're in one of those markets, listen. The beautiful thing about multifamily is you can buy all over the country, and so many people buy outside of their state, myself included. We just closed on a deal in Dallas, one in Lexington, one in Ohio, one in Louisiana, and so that's the beautiful thing about this business. But that's a great tip for if you're really in a super high end market. Now, why not? What do I want to ask you? So do you say you do outbound calls as well? Talk about outbound calls for the single family space. And I really believe the crossover works. I've got students that kill it making outbound calls to apartment owners. So talk about that.
Yeah. Good old fashioned cold calling. It's crushing it right now. And the reason is very, very few people are doing it.
It's doing what other people won't do.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. When too many people do the same thing, it doesn't work.
Right.
You want to do typically it's like fishing. if you got 20 fishermen fishing the same pool, they're not going to catch that many fish. You just walk up the mountain a little bit and go catch the big ones.
Love it.
So let's see.
Any tricks to that? I mean, just any little tricks. I mean, I suppose you want to use texting. You want to use the voicemail. I mean, beyond the non-ring voicemails, just to add the oomph to it. But anything else you would add?
There's Mojo Dialer. We use 5.9. That's what we use. It's typically one person. This is a dedicated to do cold calling and make any money at it. You got to have one person dedicated full time.
Okay.
It's a numbers game. Here's what we're finding. I'll just give you the math. 250 dials is connecting with 12 sellers live, and it's turning one appointment. So for every 250 dials, we're getting one appointment, which is kind of a warm lead, a seller saying, yes, I'd consider selling.
Wow. That's actually pretty impressive because 250 dials, they're only talking to 12 people. So it's about an 8% response rate.
Right.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Somebody's got to be doing the dialing.
Okay. But the dialer will do it, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right.
That's right.
So, I mean, 12 calls in one day is quite a few. But what do you see? What are your operators? How many calls can they actually connect with legitimately in a day?
Yeah, one person with an auto dialer can dial about 400 to 450 dials a day.
How many can they talk to though?
They're going to talk to. They'll end up talking to maybe 20.
That many? Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
20.
What's the message? You ever thought about selling? I mean, give us a secret. Give us a little ninja trick.
I'll give, if anybody wants the actual script we use, this would work very well for multifamily.
Well, give us a version of it over the phone on the show here.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Give me a
awesome.
second.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, just love to hear it. And for those of you that are willing to actually do this or hire someone to do it, I mean, I've got, one of my coaching students is a real estate broker and killed it making outbound calls.
I'll give this to you can put it in the show notes so they can have a free link to it.
Awesome.
This is for inbound call. So a call for inbound, calling somebody that hangs up, maybe a follow-up, maybe you made an offer, no close. So we pretty much got all the scenarios. By the way, this is all we took, and CG, Collective Genius.
Yeah, Collective Genius is a mastermind. Gary and I were talking about it beforehand because I'm actually joining it, and it's a bunch of hitters in the single family space that I thought I could benefit from being in the group, and so I'm going to one of their meetings here in October. So I'm looking forward to that. But,
about 3 years ago, about 10 of them came in, and we kind of said, "Hey, what's the perfect script?" So we said, "The guys that were really doing this, what are the perfect script?" So here it is. If you're able to see the video, you'll see it. Otherwise, you'll just hear it. My name is. And whoever it is, my name is Gary Boomershine. I'm calling because I work with a local investor interested in purchasing your property. We can provide a strong cash offer. Do you have any interest in selling?
It's that simple. Wow.
Typically, we want the address. It's super important because the seller will, it's all about rapport. You got about 5 seconds to pique their interest. Okay. And if they say they're selling, then we want to, great.
Sure, capture all their information. So that's it. It's that simple. Are you interested in selling? I thought maybe there was some sneaky.
There are a few.
Okay.
We'll take it down. Hey, can I ask you a few questions? This will take about a minute, and I'll pass it over to our buying specialist who will get back with you with an offer and more information about us. We're asking in the single family, we're asking about kitchens and bathrooms. How old is the roof? Anything else we should know? And what's the least amount you'd take and still be happy? We've found this combination of words, by the way, it's really interesting, actually outproduces getting a number. And then
so guys, I want to repeat that. What's the least amount you'd take and still be happy? Now that reminds me of one that Ron LeGrand shared with me decades ago, which was, what's the least amount if I could close quickly and what's the least amount you'd take? And then the follow-up question is that the best you can do?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm a big... I've been on Ron LeGrand's stage many a time, and
oh God, yeah. That's like decades ago. He stayed at my house once out on Casey Key here, but that's funny. Anyway, All right, so you're just asking questions. So there's no rocket science to this. It's just making the freaking calls.
Yeah, it's typically the 4 questions to find if there's interest. Our team will then take it even further for our members, because then we're going to ask them bedrooms and bathrooms, and is the property occupied, and if it's a rental, we'll find out what it approximately rents for, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure, all the relevant stuff. Okay, all right. Well, listen, buddy, I really appreciate you being on the show. So it's Gary Boomershine, it's REI Vault, and you added a ton of value today, brother. And I look forward to hopefully shaking your hand one day soon.
Yeah, awesome, Rod. Great to be on here, and great to be with your listeners.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you listen to podcasts, join me on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to those podcasts. Just search for Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing.